India has a vast coastline that extends over 7,600 kilometers. It is the primary task of Indian Navy to protect this frontier. Beyond the shore lies the exclusive economic zone, covering a territory of some 2.2 million square kilometers. The Navy is entrusted with safeguarding the country's vital interests over this vast expanse of water. The Indian Peninsula sits astride some of the world's most strategic sea routes, and this renders the Navy task even more crucial significance. It is not just a question of ensuring safe navigation in the sea lanes or guarding the untapped wealth lying on the seabed. It is equally important to remember what the first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, once told us. To be secure on land, we must be supreme at sea. India has had a maritime heritage that dates back 4,000 years. Contacts were maintained with distant lands across the oceans thanks to intrepid sailors centuries before the birth of Christ. Archaeological excavations at Mohenjo-daro have brought to light evidence of seaborne trade and sculpture at Sanchi, Barhut and other places, documents the exciting saga of how flourishing trade was combined with the transfer of Indian culture to foreign shores. The epics and ancient books of India are replete with references to seafaring. The record may not be complete, but the available evidence is enough to sustain the claim that the spirit of adventure had endured and continues to inspire our sailors. The oceans and seafaring are deeply embedded in the thought and literature of our land. Arabian Sea on the western seaboard was used mainly for trade, and the Bay of Bengal became a channel of conveying the message of religion and culture to the isles of Southeast Asia. Teachings of Buddha, the enlightened one, were personally carried by Emperor Ashoka's daughter, Sangamitra, to Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, the rulers of medieval India did not adequately appreciate the crucial role of naval power and neglected it. Their continental outlook made it easy for the European powers to interfere in developments here and to subsequently dominate political developments. The great Maratha Shivaji was an exception. He firmly believed that to exercise sovereign power in the subcontinent, a strong navy is imperative. He articulated this thought in a succinct phrase, Jalam yase, balam tase. Kanoji Angre was appointed the admiral of the fleet and scored many victories against larger and better equipped ships of the Europeans. The Maratha fleet was the most powerful fleet in the Arabian Sea in the second decade of the 18th century. It was only with the decline of the Maratha naval power that the foreigners could establish a foothold in India. The techniques of navigational cartography were well developed in India, and there has been a rich tradition of shipbuilding in the coastal areas. Indian Navy is a proud inheritor to this glorious tradition. This awareness has sustained its exertions in the past 5 decades to strive constantly to ride the crest of the waves. The Indian Navy has proved its mettle many a time since independence.
Indigenization and self-reliance have been an article of faith with the Navy. The INS Delhi will be the 75th warship to be designed and constructed in our shipyards. As far as the shipbuilding is concerned, it is the culmination of a process of design, systems integration, the efforts of the research and development, the synergy and efforts of the industry, including small-scale and medium-scale industry. Our shipyards have done fairly well, but they need more modernization. They need an improved factor of productivity to be totally competitive with the leading countries of the world. However, in spite of our inefficiencies, The Delhi, for example, has been built at a cost of around $200 million as compared to a ship of her class and size, which would cost $1 billion in the world market. We are now in the process of completing the designs of an indigenous submarine class, and we hope that you will be able to see it building commencing in the next few months.
In the early years, the endeavor was to modernize, to acquire ships of different kind, and latest design to build up a balanced fleet. New frigates, missile boats, and aircraft carriers were obtained to have anti-aircraft as well as anti-submarine capability. The hydrographic branch of Indian Navy has done pioneering work in charting unexplored waters under most arduous conditions. State-of-the-art technology is used to gather information to make navigation free from hazards. Professional skills of Indian naval hydrographers are internationally recognized. The exploration of Antarctica was an expedition requiring great scientific expertise, and success depended on execution of the plan with clockwork precision. The Indian Navy accomplished this in an admirable manner and put India amidst a small and select band of nations. Today, the Navy can take genuine pride in the manner in which self-reliance has been achieved in a short span of 5 decades. A major achievement has been to hone the shipbuilding skills. India is among the few countries that can build its own warships. Shipyards at Mumbai, Goa, Calcutta and Visakhapatnam can also refit, repair and maintain all types of vessels held by India. Indigenization has progressed apace. This has not only saved the country valuable foreign exchange, it has also greatly increased our diplomatic autonomy.
The most significant achievement of which the country can be reasonably proud is the fact that the erstwhile Royal Indian Navy in 1947 was a tiny coastal navy with just a few frigates and minesweepers. From that very humble beginning, today the Indian Navy is a small blue water navy. We have been operating an aircraft carrier since 1961, and this aircraft carrier was used most effectively a decade later in the 1971 war. We added submarines to our fleet in the late 60s, and from end 87, for 3 years, we have even operated a nuclear submarine which we had leased from the erstwhile Soviet Union. So, from a tiny coastal navy which only operated on the surface, to be able to operate on the surface of the oceans, under the seas, and over the seas is a significant achievement. The second achievement is that from being a buyer's navy, where we bought ships from the United Kingdom or Russia, in 1972 we became a builder's navy when we commissioned the first Leander class frigate in Bombay. From then onwards, the country has acquired enormous expertise to build the most sophisticated ships and, in recent years, even submarines.
During the Goa operations in December 1961, the cruiser Delhi played an important role and the Navy won 12 decorations, 3 of these posthumously. In the military conflict with Pakistan during the liberation of Bangladesh, the Indian Navy distinguished itself with exemplary valor. The maritime link between the two parts of the enemy country was sliced. No supplies were allowed to reach the besieged wing in the east. The old Indian naval ships Akshay and Rajput sank the submarine Ghazi, the pride of Pakistani fleet, as it stealthily approached the Visakhapatnam harbour. The most daring operation was a raid carried out on the Karachi harbour by Indian missile boats under the overall command of Commodore B. Yadav, for which the valiant officer was awarded the Mahavir Chakra.
I must tell you the background of the celebration of Navy Day as 4th of December. This was the day, the night of 4th and 5th December, that Navy attacked Karachi harbour and burned their oil tanks. The whole operation was planned with the defensive boats which we had, missile boats, though they were for defensive, but we decided to use them on an offensive sweep. In 1965, Pakistan Navy had dropped some bombs on our coast, so we also decided that we will do the same this time. And we proceeded from Bombay when Pakistan had declared war on us. We went on the 4th evening, we proceeded towards Karachi with the 3 missile boats. Just outside Karachi harbour, we carried out attack on the whatever ships we could find and sank them also. Then the coast was clear for us and we proceeded to Karachi harbour. Having destroyed all the defensive patrols of theirs, we carried out the attack on Karachi harbour from a distance of about 14 miles. Then we returned, reverse course, returned towards Bombay. Out of 3, 2 boats continued all right, but one boat in which I was also embarked had engine failure. Then there was nothing left to us. We could not increase the speed, so we altered course 90 degrees to the intended course and got out of the line of Karachi-Bombay flight. And then finally, next day, we arrived to our rendezvous point, which was of Jivu, refueled and came back to Bombay hale and hearty. There was no damage to any of the ships.
The effective combination of naval warships and aircraft was utilized to defuse a potentially explosive situation in Maldives in November 1988. The intervention by Indian Navy foiled the dastardly attempt of mercenaries to overthrow the democratically elected government of the small island state. Many goodwill visits have been undertaken by the Navy and have contributed towards reinforcing ties with foreign countries. There is growing appreciation of the Navy's role as an effective instrument of a foreign policy of peace. Sporting spirit and adventure are the very breath of naval life. Sportsmen from the Navy have won many accolades in national and international competitions. The laurels they have earned are not confined to water sports only. This continuous training by means of friendly contests keeps body and mind in top trim. The Indian Navy looks after its personnel in an exemplary manner. There is a wide range of vocational courses to choose from to prepare for post-retirement life. Rehabilitation of war widows and dependents is accorded utmost priority. All this is done keeping in mind the environmental concerns. The officers and sailors deployed in remote islands which lack medical facilities provide humanitarian Medicare and other welfare-oriented services to the needy sections of the population. The Navy has a distinguished record of conducting search, rescue and relief operations at the time of a natural calamity or an accident.
The universal principle about navies is that they are the only armed force for any nation that gives a country a legitimate trans-border military capability. The example is that you cannot take a division of the army or a brigade of the army and take it to within, say, 10 miles of another country without creating a major political problem. Whereas a naval ship, which also has the same degree of firepower or military efficacy, can be legitimately taken to within 12 miles of another country's shore, where the territorial waters end. So this is an example of the flexibility of naval power, that it allows you to legitimately, and I'm emphasizing the word legitimately, that it allows you to take your military capability to another shore or to a trans-border arena. This is the most unique aspect of naval capability. The second related aspect about naval capabilities is that unlike any other form of military capability, the Navy is a long lead service. You need long periods of time to equip yourself with an adequate Navy, and you also need to have certain levels of training that are constantly sustained. So there is an old tenet of military theory which says that you can buy an air force technically off the shelf if you have the right amount of money. If you have a large number of people and you have again the political will, you can raise an army. In the old days you raised the standing army in the days of Napoleon. But a navy cannot be created overnight. A navy is a long lead service, and you need a certain sustained effort both in terms of the leadership at the political level, at the professional level, and the infrastructure that keeps the Navy going.
Indian Navy has come a long way since the dawn of independence. Inspired and encouraged by a glorious maritime heritage, our sailors have built a splendid blue water fleet, matching the best in the world in competence and professionalism. The force represents the best and most progressive elements in our plural society. It mirrors the kaleidoscope of India. What brings together men and women from different regions and unites them, obliterating all traces of caste and community, is the shared zeal to follow in the wake of illustrious predecessors, distinguished seafarers of yore, and the brave sailors in modern times. Indian Navy today comprises an elite force, well prepared to meet the complex challenges of the 21st century, dedicated to the task of protecting India's maritime interests, combining excellence with enterprise. No wave is too tall for these Indian sons of the sea to ride confidently with a tricolour flying high on the boats they command.